There's a version of you that walks into a room and changes it. Not because they speak loudly, not because they demand attention, but because something about them feels different, grounded, rare, worth listening to. You've met someone like that. Maybe you've wondered, what do they have that I don't? The answer isn't confidence, it isn't charisma, it's something quieter. And today, we're going to talk about it. Most people spend their lives trying to seem valuable. They talk more, they perform, they prove. And yet, the more they try to impress, the less impressive they become. There's a psychological reason for this. It's called reactance and social signaling. When a person is visibly trying to gain approval, the brain of the observer reads it as a signal of low status. Because high-value individuals, evolutionarily speaking, don't need to chase validation. They already have it. So the brain makes a quiet calculation. If they're working this hard to impress me, maybe there's not much there to be impressed by. This isn't cruel, it's just biology. And most of us are caught in this loop without even knowing it. We were never taught the silent language of genuine value. We were taught to perform. Here's what I want you to understand before we go further. If you felt invisible, if you felt like your worth goes unnoticed, if you've wondered why other people seem to command respect effortlessly, you are not broken. You were simply never shown the deeper layer. The habits we're about to explore aren't tricks, they aren't manipulation. They are natural expressions of a regulated, grounded nervous system. And when your nervous system is regulated, your presence does the talking. Let's talk about what's happening in the brain. When you walk into a social environment, your brain is running what neuroscientists call social appraisal processing. Within milliseconds, the amygdala and prefrontal cortex are working together to assess, is this person safe, competent, worth my attention? They're not reading your resume, they're reading signals. Micro-expressions, reaction time, tone of voice, how you handle silence, how you respond to stress. The brain is looking for one thing above all else: self-regulation. The person who can regulate their own internal state, who isn't rattled by discomfort, who doesn't need to fill every silence, who moves with quiet intentionality, that person gets tagged by the social brain as high value. Think of it like this. In an orchestra, everyone is playing loudly, but the most powerful person in the room isn't making a sound. They're directing it. That's the energy we're building toward. Habit 1. You speak less but mean more. Research in behavioral psychology shows that people who speak deliberately, who pause before they answer, who don't rush to fill silence, are consistently rated as more intelligent and trustworthy. This is called the elaboration likelihood effect. When you don't over-explain, the listener's brain fills in the gaps with positive assumptions. The habit isn't silence for its own sake. It's the discipline to only add your voice when it genuinely adds value. Start noticing how often you speak just to ease your own discomfort. That's where the work begins. Habit 2. You let discomfort exist without fixing it. Most people are terrified of awkward moments. They rush to rescue conversations. They over-apologize. They perform ease. But here's the psychology. The discomfort tolerance framework from DBT research tells us that people who can sit with discomfort without reacting to it demonstrate a form of emotional strength that others can feel. When you stop trying to rescue every uncomfortable moment, you signal to the room, I am not controlled by my anxiety. And that is quietly magnetic. Habit 3. You have clear preferences. Indecision is not neutral. Psychologically, chronic indecision signals what researchers call external locus of control, the belief that your life is directed by external forces rather than your own will. People with strong internal locus of control have clear preferences. They know what they like. They say no without lengthy justification. They choose without asking for permission. This doesn't mean rigidity. It means rootedness. When you know your own mind, others feel they can trust you because you already trust yourself. Habit 4. You don't compete for the spotlight. There's a concept in social psychology called status anxiety. Most people in group settings are running a quiet competition: who speaks most, who laughs loudest, who lands the best line. High-value people opt out of this game, not because they're passive, but because they're secure. Psychological security, what Abraham Maslow called the foundation of self-actualization, means your sense of worth isn't on the line in every conversation. When you genuinely celebrate others, when you listen without waiting for your turn, when you ask questions that show real curiosity, the room feels it, and it elevates your presence without you saying a word about yourself. Habit 5. You protect your time without apology. In behavioral economics, there's a concept called scarcity signaling. Things that are rare are perceived as more valuable. This applies to people too. When you say yes to everything, every request, every invitation, every demand, you signal unlimited availability. And what is unlimited is rarely treasured. The habit isn't being cold or unavailable. It's understanding that your attention is a finite, precious resource and treating it accordingly. When you decline gracefully, when you keep your own schedule, when your time has weight, others begin to sense that being in your presence is something worth earning. Habit 6. You return to calm quickly. Psychologists call this emotional recovery rate, how fast you return to your baseline after stress, conflict, or disruption. People with fast emotional recovery aren't unfeeling, they feel everything. But they've built what neuroscientist Antonio Damasio calls somatic regulation, the ability to process intense emotion without being hijacked by it. Come to me like a candle in a wind, bending but not going out. You can be moved by life, but not swept away by it. And when people see that you can absorb difficulty, that you bend but don't break, they feel safe around you. And feeling safe around someone is the deepest form of trust there is. Let's bring it together. All 6 of these habits share one root: in regulated self. The person who speaks less has regulated their need for approval. The person who sits with discomfort has regulated their anxiety. The person with clear preferences has regulated their uncertainty. The person who doesn't compete has regulated their ego. The person who guards their time has regulated their impulsiveness to please. And the person who recovers quickly has regulated their nervous system. Think of it like a tree in a storm. The branches can move wildly. Life can shake you. But if your roots are deep, if your internal world is stable, you don't fall. And people don't just admire trees like that. They seek shelter in them. That is what value feels like. Not performance, not status, rootedness. I want to leave you with something simple. You don't have to become someone else. You don't have to become louder, sharper, more impressive, more polished. You just have to become more you. The version of you that isn't managing everyone's perception. The version that isn't running from discomfort. The version that trusts their own voice enough to use it sparingly. Value isn't built in moments of performance. It's built in the quiet moments when no one is watching, when you choose patience over reaction, presence over performance, depth over noise. Those choices compound. Slowly, invisibly, until one day you walk into a room and something shifts. Not because you demanded it, because you earned it. In the silence.